Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is David Noack. I am going to close out my selection of readings from this Portuguese poetry anthology with some verses by Mário de Sá Carneiro. Not sure how you pronounce his name. I don't speak any Portuguese. There he is. Let me read a little bit about him. I'll just read the whole thing. It's introduced by Martins D'Evelin, who, if you look at the note, writes in British English. So I suppose that these poems are translated by him as opposed to his co-translator, Martins Earl, who writes in American English. I actually like the British English verses better than the American English verses. I never really knew there was a difference, but I guess there is. So let me just read what it says about him. Mário de Sá Carneiro. Lisbon, 19 May 1890 to Paris, 26 April 1916. So he was one of that generation, but died young, was one of the most original figures of the Portuguese modernist movement and a co-founder of its short-lived magazine, Orfeo, 1915. With unfinished studies in Coimbra and at the Sorbonne, it was in Paris that he wrote his finest poems, depicting his life as an extravagant, frustrated, and desperate bohemian young man, a life sponsored by his father. Sá Carneiro left France after the outbreak of the First World War, but amid a moral and financial crisis and shortly after a quarrel with his father, he returned to Paris, where he spent his last months in deep depression and insurmountable grief. In a letter to his friend Fernando Pessoa, Sá Carneiro signaled his will to put an end to his life, which he did shortly afterwards, at the age of 25. So that's the brief biographical sketch by Martins D'Evelin. I'm a little bit like Donald Trump. He prefers his war heroes not to have been captured, not to have been prisoners of war. I prefer my poets not to have committed suicide. But sometimes you don't have a choice in the matter, do you? And this Mário Sá Carneiro speaks to me probably most thoroughly out of all of the poets represented in this book. They're all of about that time period, except for the first. And so I don't know anything more about him than that. What was the state of his work upon his death? How did it get published? I mean, there's a lot of stuff, you see all these dots, that was maybe left incomplete. There's no explanation in this book to explain what this stuff means. So I'll just read several of his poems and see what that gets us. So the first one is titled, "To be a Woman." I would like to be a woman so that I could stretch out beside my friends on the bench seats in the cafes. I would like to be a woman so that I could put rice powder on my face in front of everybody in the cafes. I would like to be a woman so as not to have to think about life and to meet many old men who I could ask for money. I would like to be a woman in order to spend the entire day talking about fashion and gossiping. How amusing. I would like to be a woman so as to be able to play with my breasts and arouse them in the mirror before going to bed. I would like to be a woman so that I could act suitably bewildered, something which in a man, frankly, could not be excused. I would like to be a woman in order to have many lovers and betray them all, even my favorite. How I wish I could betray my blonde, most handsome lover with a fat, ugly, and extravagantly mannered boy. I would like to be a woman to excite those who would look at me. I would like to be a woman so that I could say no to myself. And there the poem breaks off. It looks like perhaps an incomplete quatrain. So I know nothing about the perhaps biographically unresolved issues of this man or anything, but his verse really makes me sad. So, as I do not possess, I look all around me. Everyone possesses a caress, a smile, or some affection. Only for me my longings subside, and I do not possess even when I embrace. The theory of spasms spurted in red-hot fire touches me from afar. They are ecstasies of color in which I should tremble, but my soul ceases and does not feel them. I want to feel. I do not know. I go astray. I can neither become attached nor still be me. I lack the selfishness to ascend to heaven. I lack the anointing to sink into the mire. I am a friend to nobody, for to be so I would first have to possess those I esteemed, either man or woman, and I have never succeeded in possessing. Castrated of soul and not knowing the remedy, every afternoon I sink a little deeper into grief. Am I an emigrant from another world where even in the throes of my pain I cannot find myself? How I wish. Oh, I think that's the end of that poem, and this one must be another. I don't know what those three dots signify. An untitled poem, perhaps, or a continuation of the previous lines. Oh no, it is a continuation. Pardon me. How I wish that girl walking down the road, so nimble, so wild, so full of love. How I wish I could entwine with her naked body and lap her up amongst the waves of harmony and color. A wrong desire, if only one day I could possess her unveiled, perfect flesh, gasping heavily underneath my body. Not even in this way, alas, could I hope to possess her. I would only tremble on her body of golden ecstasies if I were those breasts disheveled, if I were her passion adhered. In colliding with my love, I completely collapse, and I see myself shattered, even when I overcome. Only then could I feel, and could I be that which I struggle for but cannot possess. Paris, May 1913. So I apologize for that interruption. I'll just leave it in. I haven't really been able to find a comprehensive edition of his writing in English. I like the translator who writes in British English better than the one who writes in American English in this anthology, because he doesn't try so hard to rhyme. The attempts at rhyming that the other guy does just, let me say, if you're trying to do something that's formal and you're putting it into English, don't use Emily Dickinson type rhymes and worse. I mean, I should pull that back. I mean, Emily Dickinson's rhymes are fine, and everything is measured. You have to consider what the work is that you're translating and what the formal techniques it is using before you translate it. That's why I would much rather, in any of these poetry translations, have a translation that doesn't attempt to put English rhyme. I'll give the exception to Dorothy Sayers for her Dante. I mean, it's a bit silly, and there's some problems with her translation as your end stop, but in general, it's something to avoid, I think. So that was 2, I guess, and let's see, not this one. This one's real long. Oh, think I'll go on to here. This probably is the last one. It's called Beyond Boredom. Nothing dies nor lives in me no longer. Neither sorrow nor the hours so beautiful. Even things I have never had weary me, as I have never had them and never will. How much I desired, my soul forgotten, to sleep in peace in a hospital bed. Tired within, I tired my life from so much wandering in intangible light. Once I imagined I climbed the heavens by drive of ambition and nostalgia, and ill again, I believed myself God on that long brick red trail, so very much aflame. I departed, but to the pain I soon returned, for all collapsed within me. All was the same, the chimera confined was real in itself, and even the very wonder was colored. The dark night, echoing to me in silence, irretrievably fell down on me whilst I was falling. In the depths of darkness, I swallowed myself whole, and so much boredom dried out my soul. And today, a single source of joy remains, so much the same and so very empty. The moments escape me and flee day after day, faster and faster, slighter and slighter. And a lot of his lines end like that. So I don't know what it is about his verses that speak to me so deeply. A lot of the lived experience I recognize. Thank you very much for stopping by my channel.